Morning, afternoon, evening people, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to show you how I extract and jar this honey in my kitchen just using basic equipment. So first off, let's start off at the beehives pulling the honey. Okay, so this is the honey super we're pulling today. This hive did have two supers on. One super was pulled about 2 weeks ago because it was full and completely capped. I had a look at this about 9 days ago. It's majority capped, so I'm going to show you how my method of super clearing and pulling. So basically what I do is I have a super there with a plastic lid on it. I clear the frames using a bee brush. Now a bee brush does not harm the bees. And all we're going to do then is pop frames out like this. And then just brush the bees off with the bee brush down to the hive. Then what I do, I pop the frame in this other super, put the plastic lid on. Now the bees can't get back to it. If you're only pulling one or two supers, it's fine. You can see here, look at that frame of honey, fully capped, both sides. And that is it. Easy as that. Okay, so back in the kitchen. First thing we do then is sterilise all the equipment. I've done that. I use Milton sterilising solution. It's a solution generally used for baby's bottles. So it's 100% food safe. So everything's been sterilised so far apart from the jars. The jars have been delivered today. I'm waiting for them to be delivered. I'll sterilise those before we jar the honey. So, decapping. Before we go on to decapping, what I'm going to do is check the moisture content of the honey using a refractometer. Now I'm using a Bume refractometer. These aren't expensive, they're about £15 on Amazon. I will link them in the description. All we're going to do then is take some honey, get a spot honey on the refractometer like that. With the refractometer, what we're looking for is a moisture content of below 18%. We're about 16 point something there, so way below the 18%. So let's move on to decapping. Now I don't have a decapping station. I can't justify buying one with the amount of honey that I extract. So all I do is I use this or a mixing bowl and a bit of cheesecloth to strain the honey out of the cappings. And the honey out of the cappings is the honey that I keep for myself. So what we're going to do then, decap. I think this decapping knife cost me about 15 quid. So not expensive. Only issue with this is you just got to flick the frame around to just do the other side. Any we miss, we just take a decapping fork and just get those cappings. I'll try and go as shallow as I can and literally just take the top of the cappings off. leave most of the comb, as much of the comb as possible intact. A lot of honey in that frame, it has a heavy frame. Now this is my honey extractor. It's a 3-frame extractor. It's electric. And I bought this off a friend who's given up beekeeping. I literally paid £90 for it. In fact, I paid £90 for the extractor and 3 beehives. So I'll give you a close look in the extractor. So let's pop our frames in there. And what I try and do is get fairly even frames that are a similar weight, just to stop the wobble on the extractor. Look at all that honey. That's been spinning for a couple of minutes now. You can see that's the side we've extracted. So we'll spin it around now, extract the other side. That's the other side, now being extracted. You can see in the bottom there, that's how much honey we got just out of 3 frames. We're extracting 20 frames today. Okay, now back to decapping. Now the bees haven't got the comb out on this frame as much, so this one's slightly lighter. So now I'll try and pick another 3 frames that are roughly the same sort of weight. Okay, right in the middle of decapping, and my jars have arrived. 100 jars. So I was just chatting to the delivery driver, because obviously I've answered the door like this. So I said to him, oh, perfect timing. I was right in the middle of extracting my honey, that's what the jars are for. And he said, oh, we deliver a lot of jars to beekeepers. He said, and sugar syrup. So there must be more people beekeeping than you realise. And that's what happens if the frames aren't quite even in weight. You get a wobble on. If you just hold on to it for a minute, it will stabilise. What some people do, so we've got a honey house, so to speak, they actually bolt them to the floor, the extractor. However, with me just being small time, just in my kitchen, no need, so I just hang on to it. Okay, so double screen filter. I believe the lower screen is 400 microns, I think, don't quote me. So what we're going to do now is open the honey gate. So that's 6 frames worth of honey in there now. And we'll start filtering. As you can imagine, the filtering process is quite slow. So what I'm doing is I'm decapping more frames. We'll continue extracting as we filter. Okay, so that's all our frames extracted. What I do is just speed this process up now. So I'll tilt this. I'll put something underneath. Like that. You can see the honey flow now. There's something that's really enjoyable about watching honey flow out like that, isn't there? Okay, so now it's pretty much just a waiting game. You can see that filter's completely full. So what I've got to do then, close the honey gate, leave it to filter through, then open the honey gate again. Because that filter being a 400 micron filter, the honey just goes through the filter very, very slowly. So what do you do with the cappings, Tony? I hear you say. Let me show you. As you can see, we decaps onto this cheesecloth. What I do is I make sure that all of the cappings are in the cheesecloth. I then get a mixing bowl. And I'll squeeze the honey out. Now this honey, I'll put this in a jar and keep this for myself. There's nothing wrong with it. You could just put this in there, let that go through the filter, form a 100 microns filter, also, but I think it's easier just to pour this into a jar, and I just have this for myself. Now what do we do with the cappings after, I hear you say? We render them down and use the beeswax. I will do a video on that. And there's how much honey came out of the cappings alone. There's at least a full jar there. Okay, so previously I've been using £1 jars, £1, 454 grams. Those jars, the price rocketed up, went from about 76p a jar to £1 a jar. So I managed to get these jars, which I think are nicer anyway, but they're 380 grams. But I reckon if I fill them to the brim, I'll get 400 grams in a jar. So it's going to be 400 gram jars. On the scales, tear those. And these jars do come in at about 76p a jar for 100. The more you buy, the cheaper they get. However, I just got 100. Fill that to the very top. Oh wow. If you want 380 gram jars, take a look at this. 500. Now in the photo, where I ordered the jars are only filled up to there. Which I don't really see the point of. You get up to there, that's 410 grams. Okay, so we're still going with £1 jars then. They're going to be just over £1. 475 grams. Okay, so after that I've ended up with 22 jars of honey. I've actually got 3 I've kept for myself, 3 jars worth. So 25 jars. I was expecting a little bit more than that, however, there you go. Anyway, labelling. So, I'll put 2 labels on honey. One label there. And a second label on the bottom. See there, Teddy's Dorset honey, and the label on the bottom, the weight, the batch number. So the batch of this honey is 03/2024. So if you have got a jar of honey and that batch number's on it, this is your honey being extracted.